Okay. Hmm. I don't know if you guys can hear me at all. Don't see. Okay. Can anybody hear me? Nobody's watching. Okay, somebody's watching. I want you guys to type if you can hear me. Type if you can hear me. If not, I'll just go back to streaming off my phone because I don't have any of these mics actually set up for this. Oh, the audio is good? Well, thank you, Andy. There are these six little lights. I've never used the live streaming in the new YouTube studio. There's these six little lights right there, like six little dots, and they don't light up when I'm talking at all. So I don't know what they actually do. Anyways, um, I forget which day this is of coronavirus quarantine, but still, the word grates on my mind. It's definitely a life changer. I don't feel like my life will be as changed by anything else short of like 9/11 because what it's doing to every facet of my life is quite odd. Um, I've been going to school, getting all of the credentials that it will take for me to become an at-home worker. You know, uh, let's say for a company like BetterHelp that I was especially uh, critical of earlier in this year and last year. If I wanted to work for them, I'd have to be a licensed professional, and in my state, that would be either LPC or LCSW license. Right, those are the only two they take in the state of Colorado so far. And there are other companies around, but that's just one of them. And most of them don't have any work for people who are not credentialed at least the master's level. So me finishing my master's degree is very important to me in that first I can pick up, uh, you know, side jobs doing telehealth, and then perhaps in the end of my career transition fully to it. Right. So first, my job they realized that we were headed towards lockdown, but they didn't want to shutter like all the restaurants have to, so they went telehealth. Right? They set all this stuff up. Well, they followed my advice and bought the correct stuff. It actually costs a lot of money to get a HIPAA compliant license for using Zoom, right? But it's the right thing to do, right? So the job that I, up until this week, did in rooms of, on average 12 people trying to get their driver's license back, mandatory having to be in these rooms. Now, they will, have this mandate from the Justice Department and also from the DMV, two separate mandates to get their classes done. Now, I also did some relapse prevention, some EOP, some uh, CBT groups, stuff like that. But for the large part, it was mostly just justice related and DMV related groups that I was running because of the level of licensure that I have being very low, um, because I haven't finished my master's yet. And so I never dreamed that I would be able to do this uh, online ever, right? I figured I would have to finish my education in order to even first dip my toe in the water, right? And this great catastrophe that's come around, it has put a whole bunch of people's jobs online, or over the phone. I had a doctor's appointment set up for the 24th, and it was one of those things where my doctor was saying, no, it's been almost a year, so you have to come in person. So I had to make an appointment, or else I was going to have all of my prescriptions pulled from me, and a little slap on the wrist, and you know, maybe be kicked out of the firm that I'm in at the VA, which means it's harder to get into a different firm in order to get health care. They just, they give you a little push by saying these things. Well, now the guy calls me up and he says, well, he has his nurse call me up, right? And that nurse is telling everybody, well, he's going to telehealth now. So he'll be calling you at the same time that your appointment should have been. So before, it was no good for me to want to call in and say, hey, just refill my shit. I don't need to see you. Before, that was not acceptable. But now that there's a global pandemic, now all of a sudden he can just talk to me over the phone and figure out what's wrong by me telling him what's wrong, which is same old goddamn things. Don't change anything, just refill my scripts. Right now, it's okay to do that because the president says throw everything to the wind and let's just get it done, and stay safe. Same thing with my supervision with my school. My supervisor is meeting me on uh, Zoom rooms tomorrow. I get to have that little 1 hour session just talking to her uh, over the internet, and that's fine. You know. Now, when my job transitions to this, and I have to, instead of seeing all of these people in a very tight packed room, I have to see them online. There are a few changes to just the way that you run things that you just see up front, like before I even start. I know it's going to be harder for me to see somebody's eyes welling up with tears. And I've seen that, um, especially with regards to the people whose jobs have been affected by this pandemic. Uh, People who are nurses and people who have like essential jobs, they're still going to have to go to their jobs. But people like, waitresses, um, even people who do yard work and canvassers, people who picked up that job to do door to door canvassing for the census, all of that stuff is just, nope, stay home. Uh, Ski slopes, casinos, all that stuff shut down. So, uh, in your neck of the woods, wherever you are, the people that are watching, I'm sure that the closures are different. Apparently, in Miami, the beaches were still open. But yeah, that topic is something that some people are very, very upset about because there are a lot of businesses that cannot keep running without having an income for 2 months, and that's what they were uh, going on when the governor shut down everything. Is he said 8 weeks, right? I'm guessing that it's going to be a lot worse than 8 weeks. I'm guessing even up to a year of this crap, and they're going to be very, very affected. Every restaurateur, especially. Shepard posted in the chat that he thinks Q is 100% the Trump administration leaking things. Andy wants to know, what do you think about the panic buying? It hasn't seemed to slow down anywhere really. It has slowed down here in Denver in that you can find toilet paper. And Misty was able to buy some. Basically, you have to go to the local Walmart, and they go back in the back and get it for you. Because if they leave it out, people will panic buy it. So what they figured out is they don't want to have police come guard it. And if they were to have their own people guarding it, then their own people are put at risk for like riots over toilet paper and fights over toilet paper. So they just put it all in the back, and you have to ask for it as if it's a controlled over-the-counter substance like Sudafed. And it's been working. People take just one when you have to tell a person to go back and get you a package. So we have packages now. That's what works. There's a lot of food back on the shelves. And really, if you are finding it hard to find your favorite food, go to your local Asian market. They are full of food. If you are starving, I have no love for you because you are a racist. Okay, so my job's going to change, and it's going to be hard for me to see a lot of the nonverbal communication of my clientele because I can't tell. I can tell that right now. I've been rocking this chair, right? And for some people, that might be a sign that they have anxiety. Some people, they are just calming themselves. But I can't see somebody's leg bouncing. I can't see, unless it's on the screen, I can't see their thumbs twiddling if they're keeping it off the screen. I can't see them shivering because they're cold because just the camera won't catch it really well. It's different. Sometimes it might be just because of the lighting, harder to see that someone's blushing. It's harder to see when people's eyes can't keep focus on the other people that they're talking to, because people don't feel the glare of other people when it's going through a screen. I think you guys get the point. The nonverbal communication thing changes dramatically when you are online with people versus meeting them face to face. And face to face contact is the golden standard for psychotherapy. There's even a guidance. It's not like a set in stone rule, but it's a guidance that says before you're allowed to do telehealth with someone, you should do your first meeting with them, the assessment meeting, in person. And then every meeting thereon should, you can do telehealth. That was the guidance that they had before, and they've waived that guidance. The state has waived that guidance in light of the coronavirus. So now people can sign up for therapy for all of these different modalities and still not have to see someone in person. The whole thing can just be on camera. Throw on top of this, this is completely strange. People can put on beauty filters, and if you've never seen them in person, how would you freaking know that it was a beauty filter that was on their face? Those filters have gotten so good on like Instagram. If they were somehow able to use some software to put filters on them, they could look really, really different than they actually do. Bruce Shepard says he broke the beauty filter. I like that while streaming, I can see your guys' comments as they come in. I don't have to, like, when I'm on my phone with you guys, I have to keep reaching to my phone and sliding my finger up in order to see your comments because they fade away on the screen. Kevin Smart wants to know, are you using a beauty filter? No, but I am using lighting that is good for me. I have different lights in the room. Some of them I use for my paintings in order to have no shadows when I'm painting, so that when you guys see a video of me painting, you don't see me casting a shadow from my hand in one spot. So I like to have lights on both sides of my hand so that there's less shadows. It's actually in number more shadows, but they are lessened total to the point where you can actually see what I'm doing. A diffused light works that way too. But yeah, I think this is pretty much the camera setup I'll be using while I'm doing telehealth and also doing my schoolwork through Zoom. And now my practicums are going to be this way. So for like 8 hours a day, for an entire week, I will be doing this in a very comfortable lazy boy instead of traveling to my university, meeting all the other students from all over the fucking world that could be infected with the coronavirus from their country, all coming into, the same city and, super infecting it from everywhere. And that makes sense to me, but I feel like I am part of that special year where the requirement to do these intensives in person, where the instructors can tell if my eyes are welling up in tears. It's like I'm part of that now. Kevin wants to know what I'm studying. Counseling. My undergrad degrees were in English and psychology, and I'm getting a master's in counseling. I'm almost there. I just got to complete a whole bunch of free work. The whole slave labor requirement of every master's degree. I'm doing the intensives, the practicums, and the internships now. And so on Monday, I got to go do a bunch of hours at the practicum site. And one of the things that I'm short on is face-to-face time with clients at the practicum site. Now, it just so happens that um, my job requires that I see clients, and so I have had more experience than most of my classmates over the years when I decided to get all of the certified addiction counselor stuff out of the way first. I was actually building quite a resume for starting out in counseling because I've been doing it just at lower levels, and so I'm not exactly a teacher's pet, but I'm certainly something that my classmates draw on as like a teacher's aide, even though I'm just a classmate. I know a lot, you know, holding the credentials that I do have. Um, Kip Jordy says, Doctor of Doubt. No. Um, I may go that far, mind you, but uh, even getting a master's, you're not a doctor of anything. Now, there are some doctors who have a master's degree or a master's level degree, like medical doctors or lawyers. Lawyers get a Juris Doctor, which is a master's level thing. And it's all confusing, really. And then when you look at what PhD actually stands for, it's Doctor of Philosophy. But like, I'm not going for a degree in philosophy. It's all confusing. There's also a PsyD degree that I'm not going to go for either. It's like a doctorate level psychology degree that doesn't prepare you for teaching. It prepares you for more research work and clinical work. Anyways, Kevin wants to know, do patients fall in love with their counselor often? Um, Not me. I do get a lot of appreciation from my clients, if you want to call it that love, but I think you're talking about like lust and counselors getting in trouble for having dual relationships with their clients and all that. And I'll tell you that it happens all too often because you can look up everyone within a certain career path, like say every psychologist, right? You can look them up on uh, a state website, and then you can see which ones have their license has stipulations on it, and then you can go look up their actual license. And in the state of Colorado, once you get a stipulation, it's always on your license. People can go click on it, and then the court record of what the judgment was, like from the board, is then permanently on your record. And you can read what everyone had done to them. And I have known clinicians who uh, got stipulations for breaking those rules. I saw one get walked out from a job because it was found out that he hadn't cleared that up in a different state, and he got a reciprocal license, and he was trying to renew it, and he found out, oh, his reciprocal license in my state just got pulled because his original state, he had a complaint against him for that. But yeah, there's been a couple people that you can look up, and they, you can just see exactly what it was that they did. For me, I will say that uh, since I got on this career path and I went through some of the ways that I didn't have any people hitting on me that were clients. First of all, some of the places that I worked were men's programs. And yeah, it's okay to, it's the 21st century and you could get hit on by a man, but it just didn't happen. Right. Um, and then I worked in some of the places where people are at rock bottom and they're not thinking about love per se. They're not thinking about, ooh, look at that person. I think I get along with them, or they're being very nice to me. I think I've got a crush. No. When people are in an emergency room or in a detox, they're very often not thinking about those things. And now somebody named Sex Addict has entered the chat saying, hey guys, that's funny. Uh, Before that, though, I found it odd that a job that I had with a uniform as an officer for a hospital security company, um, that uniform seemed to attract people. And as soon as I took that uniform off and got a different job, had no play whatsoever. So, back on track with the topic that I started talking about. Everyone's lives has been impacted by this, and we haven't even seen the pinnacle of how bad this is going to be. But this is set itself up to wipe out, at least a quarter of the year's earnings in different economies. We're all going to be disinfecting things like uh, better than we've ever done. Um, a bunch of people who hadn't jumped on the whole wash your hands bandwagon before will start washing their hands. That's great. I was one of those people who washed their hands before it was trendy. But I welcome you. I welcome you all to join us. You know, we make cookies, and we're not afraid to eat each other's cookies because we washed our hands. Kevin says the debt will take decades to pay off again. I don't know if uh, Kevin means the debt that we're all going to incur on like credit cards or like the national debt that we're going to have that gets incurred by this, you know. Um, as you also could be talking about student loan debt. Um, I don't know. And oh, Kevin said the national debt. Okay. Yeah, it's funny that Trump goes and campaigns on different things, and then shit happens, life happens, and then all of a sudden he's got to do exactly the things that he said that he would not do, like increasing the national debt. You know, it's worse when presidents say that they would never take us to war than they do, or they say that no new taxes, and then they end up having to make new taxes. Um, yeah. Andy says preppers must be having a field day. Yeah. They're like, this is why we do this. I can see how preppers would feel very uh, rewarded by their efforts in a time like this, especially if they had toilet paper and didn't have to fight a line to get there. By the way, somebody did mention to me that uh, RV toilet paper, the kind that's better for flushing into an RV system because it doesn't clog up the septic system as much, can sometimes still be on the shelves while everybody else is looking for regular toilet paper that's out in the store. You go to the RV section and they have a couple boxes of that and nobody's looking for it. So, in case you guys find yourselves in one of those runs on toilet paper. Oh, and by the way, there was another run on something, webcams, because everybody who's going to have to work from home didn't have webcams set up, and so they went and stopped by the store and bought out all the webcams. So it's really hard to get a good webcam in person these days. Now, you can order one, it'll come in a little while, but I actually took some of my old webcams and I took them to work. And this newer webcam that I was actually using for my paintings over there, I moved to here so I can have better resolution for getting on Zoom groups. Kevin Smart says, do you think people might start to rally behind Trump, wartime president vibe? Along with the depression that comes from hearing the word coronavirus 100 times a day, I also have this feeling of impending doom when it comes to the next election because when it's Biden versus Trump, I just don't see a passion behind Biden supporters. And he's not being public enough in order to get the passion that other candidates had behind them and keep it. I mean, it's just like we're throwing him under the bus just so that he can lose and Trump can get another term. I feel bad for the old guy, you know? And yes, just like if Trump had declared a war on another country, all he's got to do is say, this is a war on coronavirus. Just like a president in the past said, this is a war on drugs, you know? And yeah, people will rally behind him. 19th says Biden has enough passion to make little girls near him very uncomfortable in public. Thank you for the dark humor. It's what gets me through these times. Gallows humor. It works for me, you know. In one of my classes, somebody responded to my style of humor, the sarcasm and the dry humor and the delivery that I go for, and said sarcasm isn't funny. It's just you trying to be a bully, you know, and it's you showing that you're hurt. It's not actually funny. And then the same person went and found a BuzzFeed article saying that sarcasm isn't funny, and you know, a couple of doctors who chimed in on it, you know, and lent their credence to it. And I saw the link, and I was like, "What about being passive aggressive? Is that funny?" Kevin says normal politics is suspended. Really, Doesn't feel like an election year. Good for Trump in the end. Yeah. Um, Definitely, this does not feel like a regular election year. Uh, to be honest, the last 3 days felt like a whole year to me. I feel like I grew a whole year. Like I'm getting more grays in my hair because of this past week. I feel older. So hopefully, this is my hope, is that the changes that this pandemic has brought about will make it so that by the time they might think about trying to put everything back into Pandora's box and make it so that I have to go back to doing my job in cramped rooms face to face with people, I will have gathered a whole bunch of experience doing telehealth. And also, I will have the credentials that I need to move into a job where I can do telehealth. Maybe not for BetterHelp, you know, especially not if they find out all the videos I made critiquing them. That would be awkward. But, some company that does good by their clients. That's, a year and a half to 2 years down the road. But I have this sinking feeling that that's how long it's going to take for us to get to a good point with our containment of this pandemic. And I mean it when I say not since 9/11 has something this life changing outside of my control happened to my life. You know, people who grew up before me, they remember where they were when Pearl Harbor happened, or when JFK was shot, or when John Lennon was shot, or when Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. When I was a kid, I remember the Challenger explosion on TV. I was in my grandfather's den underneath the pool table because he had a special console TV pointed right at underneath the pool table where we like to play video games. Underneath the pool table was actually the place that we were supposed to go in case of an earthquake. And the Whittier quake happened in Long Beach, California. And yeah, that was our safe spot. And I was there watching it, and nobody else was awake in the house. And I can still remember the cloud going like that. The story of me and where I was during the 9/11 tragedy is on this channel. And it's a very long one. But to summarize, I was in Kuwait, and it happened during my dinner time. It was, late morning for a lot of you guys because you were here in the US. But for me, when I was in Kuwait, it was my dinner time. And yeah, it really shook things up for me. Since then, there's been like the crash in 2008. There's been the Occupy movement. But, other than that, all the things that really affected my life really came from my decisions or from, losses of loved ones, stuff like that. It was not something that affected the whole country and the whole planet, you know? So I'm hoping that we all get used to this. I know that everyone's going to have to be a grief counselor. Uh, I've been looking at the numbers a lot, since we last talked last night, you guys and me, and now I've been looking at what percentage increase has the number of deaths happened grown every year or every day, day after day for the COVID-19 coronavirus. And on the 18th of March, it was a 17% gain on the previous day. And that sort of rise in the number of dead outpaces swine flu. And there are people on YouTube that have graphed it out and made nice animations of what happened day by day by day from day one. I think one of them was Abracadabra, and I liked his animation of it because I felt like I got something out of it. But now, more than just watching the totals, just seeing the change in percentage each day growth, to me, I feel like it explains, when the virus is starting to slow a little bit more than just total deaths over time. The percentage in change in, growth in deaths day after day shows whether or not the virus is starting to peter out. And no, it's not. It's still on the uptick, very much so. And there are people who say that the swine flu was worse, and so far, it's outpacing the swine flu. But in total, they're actually still correct. And even by the worst numbers that I've seen, swine flu has killed a magnitude of people more than the coronavirus has so far. But we'll have to revisit that discussion, say, 6 months from now. Kevin doesn't remember the swine flu being a huge thing. Actually, there was a cholera outbreak that actually in 2010 to 2013 was decimating people in third world countries. We just didn't hear about it a lot in the US. But cholera was killing people like crazy. But yeah, swine flu worldwide took out at least 250,000 people. But that's over like the entire length of that pandemic, in all the different countries and over the entire span of when it was out there raging. Now it's not that bad of a flu going around because people have either built up immunities to it, or it's being caught with people's vaccinations. It's they pick which strains of flu that they think are going to be the worst, and they vaccinate people for them. And that flu strain is just not killing people as much as it did in its heyday. It's pretty much died down. Coronavirus, COVID-19, will probably take the same trajectory up and down. A lot of deaths at its peak, and then it'll start killing less and less people until it's either eliminated or it just becomes like a slow burn. all over the world forever, like some flus. Um, but right now, it's on that uptick because it's so new and nobody has immunities to it at all. So, I say these things and I still feel like some of you guys are like, man, this guy is fucking crazy. Watch this guy who thinks he's a skeptic just fall off his rocker. And I may be leaning on my rocking, reclining lazy boy, but I am not falling off of it. Um, Kevin says this could happen again with something even more deadly. And what's crazy is that this less deadly thing than whatever that is that you are imagining, this coronavirus is going to prepare us more for that more deadly thing. And I feel like people are streaming movies like Contagion and Outbreak and stuff like that, and it's preparing them even more too. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of experience we're getting in how to handle that horrible pandemic that could be coming down the road. There's another bird flu that's coming too, that they just found in China. Now, Terrence Hypno Nipple says a lot of these numbers are probably inaccurate. And I will grant you that, especially with regards to China, because they lied. They're lying liars who lie about everything, and they say that it's in basically remission in their country where they're not having any new cases. I'm like, bull fucking shit, I know they're probably a lot better at locking down the streets than we are here in America, but zero new cases, no. Terrence says he doesn't trust Iran's numbers either. Okay, I'll give you that too. Um, Italy's numbers, Italy just jumped up to a 9% death rate. And part of that could be that Italy has an older population. Part of it could be horrible healthcare system. But one of my favorite YouTubers is Casey Neistat, right? And he had a friend, Dan Mace, who he basically twinked his YouTube channel by featuring Dan Mace for a couple months on the Casey Neistat channel. And Dan Mace was in California, sick, complained of certain symptoms of the coronavirus. They did not give him a test because his symptoms were not severe enough. He got up on a plane and went to South Africa and was still sick. The South African doctors tested him there before he could have a wedding where a lot of people would have showed up. And it turns out he had the coronavirus this whole time. And when you hear stories like that, where people with symptoms, either the doctors refuse to test them because their symptoms aren't severe enough, or they figure, oh, well, I know what it is. I know I've got it. And if my symptoms get bad enough, I'll go to the hospital. But since 80% of people have not severe symptoms, I'm just going to see if they become severe and just shelter at home and not burden the hospital system, which is overburdened. And I know that. So I'm just going to give to the world this gift of me not being part of the hospital system that needs to direct its resources towards severe people by just staying home and quarantining myself and never getting tested and not even bothering with doctors. So, given that there's also people doing that, yes, the numbers are wrong. And I still think the World Health Organization severely underestimated the death rate of this virus, and they estimated it at 3.5%. And Italy right now, is just with their confirmed cases, is at 9%. But if you have to figure that there's a bunch of cases that have gone undetected as of yet, for whatever reasons, like they were new transmission or they chose not to get tested, then the total death rate can come down a few percent. But still, the difference between 3.5% and 9% is huge. So it's still bigger than what the World Health Organization is saying. Kevin Smart says there's no panic buying in Italy. First, you have a different culture where they share and they know their neighbors. And there's no panic buying in certain cities here in Colorado. If you go to a little town called Eaton, Colorado, Eaton, go to the one grocery store in town, and it's got plenty of toilet paper. Because if anyone were to buy it all up and hoard it, everyone in the store knows everybody who lives in that neighborhood, in that community. The store clerks would rat you out to your neighbors and say, "Did you hear that Jack bought up all the toilet paper and now none of us can have any?" And then you're never going to have a nice relationship with your neighbors, right? In big cities, nobody fucking knows their neighbors. You go down to a grocery store and buy the whole thing out. Does anybody recognize you to the point where they could blackball you in the whole community? No. So yeah, go to a small town if you're looking for toilet paper, oddly enough. Pepe Roni says, I called the VA just to find out when my next appointment is, and they ran me through a few questions and said, based on my answers, I don't have the virus. Just wanted to know when my appointment was. That's funny, because what's going on with my doctor is, he called me up and told me that, he had his nurse call me, and then he said, this appointment that we were gonna make you make in person in order to keep all your prescriptions. You can now have it telehealth, and he'll call you during the same time, right? Part of me keeping my prescriptions, usually, now I don't know if they're going to waive this given the circumstances, but usually, not only do I have to see him in person once a year, I also have to take a blood test just so that they can see my levels, right? So I'm going to push the issue with the doctor on the phone. Like, please schedule me for a blood test at the hospital. And I'm going to see if he will, or if he's just going to say, you know what, we're just going to go on your last year's answers and hope for the best. And it's probably better because if you come to this hospital, there's a whole bunch of people who are coughing, so you might get something, so we're going to play it safe. That could be what happens. I don't know. We'll find out Monday morning, and then Monday evening. That'll probably be still on my mind and something that I want to spit out into my live stream. So, Terrence Hypnonipple says, defunding the CDC probably wasn't good for rolling out testing. No, it was not a good idea. There's a bunch of programs that the Republicans want to just abolish, and for all sorts of different reasons. But the CDC, probably they should keep that one around. Matt's movie says, "Hello there, hottie." Hi, I'm in my quarantine hoodie. It's got the the knight's armor sewn right into it. You know, got it on Wish.com. Probably not going to buy anything from Wish.com for years now because everybody's got a little bit of racism in them, don't they? Right? I don't even know if items from Wish came from Wuhan. If they came from Hong Kong, maybe I'd be like, maybe I might buy from it there. Taiwan, yeah, maybe, but who knows? Can I even trust a label from China for like what part of China it came from? No, no, I can't. It seems like whatever makes the Western world purchase their products is okay for them to write on their products, even if it doesn't meet any of the specifications that they're actually writing. This coronavirus quarantine outfit that I'm wearing with the sewn on plates of armor, it was supposed to be a triple X. Turns out it's more like 1.5X. It's a little bit tight on me. It's good to sleep in, but yeah, I'm probably not going to wear it out in public until I drop a few more pounds. Oh, Kevin Smart says, but would you still buy Italian? Italian what? Pizza? Pizza's American. What Italian thing was I buying? What part of the market did the Italians have that I was buying from? What Italian app was I missing out on? You know what Fiat stands for? Failed Italian automotive technology. There's nothing from Italy that I wanted in the first fucking place. Okay? No. And it's 58 minutes in. I've been shooting for an hour all these times. If you've got one more question for me, throw it in the chat, and I'll try to get to it really quick. I'll say I'm grateful for a few things today. I'm grateful that when I got into the house, Misty was there to tell me to kick off my shoes and take off my outer layer of clothing and go wash my hands. And she was just looking out for me, giving me directions like I was a kindergartner about how to stay germ free in our home because of the coronavirus. I'm happy for basically the fact that I just had my last day of real work in person, and now I have to do things online. And I'm probably going to kill less trees doing work telehealth style because I was copying a lot of handouts for my clients, and now I can do a share screen, and just project myself onto their phone, and they can see whatever parts of the worksheets that I want them to answer questions about. So there's that. Also, for the breaks that I would put into my groups, halfway through, give people a good fresh air break, because I'm an addiction counselor. I don't tell people to do smoke breaks. I tell them fresh air breaks. Now, for that time. I'm probably going to grab a good topical YouTube video and throw it in there and have the bar for time visible just on their phone so that they can see how much time they have left before they have to be back on camera and not using the bathroom anymore. So I'm grateful that there's something as far as filler for me to be um, using for my groups rather than just kind of letting it be not productive for those people who get back early and filling the time with something interesting. um Grateful for the technology, and it's this attitude of gratitude that I'm trying to get to in my life, even in the face of all of these people dying all over the world and people getting infected and people getting really anxious. I'm trying to keep this attitude of gratitude because I've seen the research on it, and it apparently extends your life in a very strange way because it's just a mindset. But the mindset itself seems to be life affirming and life extending. So I think I'm going to try to spread it to all of you. Just keep thinking of a list of things that you're grateful for each day. You don't even have to journal it. You can just think about it. I think it's kind of appropriate that I have a Bob Ross Chia Pet now because all that attitude of gratitude stuff sounds a lot like Bob Ross. Anyways, talk to you guys tomorrow.